Some of you may or may not remember when I talked about this page last year. If you were around, you remember. If you are new, you wouldn't remember. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because last year I did a video talking about this Asian man who got beat up by, I think it was 3 black men in New York in a subway station because this Asian man was inappropriately touching this minor female. But when they put the video out there, and when I say they, I mean people like Asian Crime Report and other pages, they only put out a part of the video and it spun this narrative that these black men were attacking this Asian man for no reason other than the fact that he was Asian. And then that quickly got blown up because I think the New York Post had put out the whole story and it pretty much debunked everything that they said, even if the New York Post didn't say anything, we wasn't believing half of, or even an ounce of what they were putting out there because we knew what they were on or what type of time they were on from jump. Now, fast forward to what's going on now. As many of you, of course, already know, there were a few mass shootings that occurred in California, in different parts of California, and the people who were responsible for those shootings were Asian men, and the victims were primarily Asian individuals as well. So I guess you could chalk it up to it being Asian on Asian violence, something that the AAPI community doesn't really dwell on, but they will dwell on stuff where they can put a narrative out there about how it's black people overwhelmingly attacking Asian people, even though I've given y'all multiple stories throughout the last week where it was either white people attacking Asian people or Asian people attacking each other. Nowhere in there was there any story about black people attacking Asian people, but they'll put something out there to try to spin a narrative. But then even with that, you got to take that with a grain of salt and dig a little deeper and see, is this actually true or not? So this Asian Crime Report page does not realize what they did in this tweet. And y'all probably noticed it, or maybe not, as I was talking. But they said black on Asian violence and racism is the biggest threat to Asian Americans and not mass shootings. Now, they're saying this off of the cusp of a tragedy that just happened, where 2 Asian men went and violently and viciously shot up different locations where majority of the people that were there were Asian. They didn't care that an Asian person was the suspect or the shooter. They didn't care that people died and lost their lives. All they could push out there was the narrative that black people are still the ones overwhelmingly violent against Asian people. They go on to say the last 2 days with an Asian male elder shooter are anomalies. Are they really? Because let's not sit here and pretend that they are the only 2 people or the only 2 Asian people who have ever wielded a gun and went on a mass shooting spree. Does VTech ring a bell? And that was back in 2007. Granted, he was outside of the age bracket of these 2, but let's not sit here and pretend like this is some new phenomenon. I'm sure if you go back in history and look, you can probably find a few. They go on and say ACR, which is Asian Crime Report. Now, this sentence right here is where they trip themselves up. Asian Crime Report is focused on raising awareness and exposing black on Asian violence and racism to help save more lives. Right there in this one sentence, they expose what their entire page is about. Exposing black on Asian violence and racism to help save more lives, which if they would have just put this sentence first and this next, it would have really spelled itself out for you. Because they're not here to talk about Asian on Asian crime. They're not here to talk about when white people attack them or any other group. They're only here to talk about when black people allegedly go out there and attack them in a way that they feel is comfortable enough for them to talk about, so they can spread propaganda about the big black boogeyman or boogie woman or boogie person. Isn't this what I've been talking about for a long time on my channel? That a lot of these Asian ran pages who post stuff like this, their only mission is to put out propaganda about black people to make black people seem like we are the bad guys. But yet and still, they will set up shop in black neighborhoods. If we're so bad and we're so violent, why would you want to be around a bad and violent element? They know where the money is. That's why they set up shop there. But if we're so violent, then why do they not urge other Asian people who have businesses there to move out and say, go to Chinatown? They probably can't go there because Chinatown is so oversaturated, they can't find a spot. So what do? Go to the black neighborhoods. That's the next best space. But they expose themselves right here of what they really are on Twitter doing, and that is the quote unquote expose Black on Asian violence. That's it. That is all. That's why in this first part, they were so standoffish when they said Black on Asian violence and racism is the biggest threat. And then they said the last 2 days with an Asian male elder shooter are anomalies. That was a very standoffish statement right there, considering people lost their lives. They are no different than PC when all they want to talk about is Black on Black crime, or 13% of the population, quote unquote, 50% of the crime, quote unquote. They are literally borrowing from the same playbook, and in some aspect trying to outdo it. But they literally expose their whole narrative with this one sentence right here. I bet their followers are probably mad as hell at them right now. Because they was like, you said the quiet part out loud. You wasn't supposed to say that out loud. And this stupid account probably doesn't even realize that they did it. Clearly they didn't, because it was posted up at 11:23 p.m. on January 23rd, 2023. And I'm recording this at 11:15 a.m. on January 24th, 2023. Almost 10 hours apart. Well, over 10 hours. Just about, almost. It has 42 retweets, 27 quoted tweets, and 273 likes and 18,000 views. And I'm telling you, the people in the thread are tearing this comment or this tweet up in the thread itself and in the quoted tweets. And rightfully so. It does not matter if something is going on with them against themselves. They always find a way to throw or thrust Black people in there somehow, some way, in order to make us be the bad guy. We always have to be the villain of the story. And this goes back to what Rob was always saying. He said, then Black people just need to embrace villainy since they want us to be the villain so bad. I said, trust and believe it. Black people embrace the villain role the way that they want us to do it so bad. You think Thanos was something. I'm gonna just leave it right there. But yeah, this Asian crime report page exposed themselves. Well, honestly, they kind of exposed themselves to me last year when I did that video. But now everybody can see it. They literally put out, this is their mission statement: to bring awareness and expose Black on Asian violence and racism to help save more lives. Yet the 2 mass shootings that occurred recently by Asian men, how was that saving lives? That they literally took, how many bodies? About 30 or close to 30 in a matter of days. We only have a few more days left in January. I'm curious, is there going to be another one that's going to happen? But yeah, we have no friends. Let's just put it like that. We have no friends, and that's fine. All we have is ourselves. All we need is ourselves. Now, what I find to also be interesting is that this is their bio. Asian hate crime reporters raising awareness of anti-Asian violence and racism in the U.S. Asian cultures and issues. We report on crime in San Francisco too. Didn't one of these mass shootings happen in San Francisco? No, maybe I'm getting it confused. And speaking of another one, I bet this Asian crime report page didn't even talk about the Romanians that were responsible for pulling those little jewelry, well, not even little, but them jewelry heists out in California as well. That story is not getting that much traction because of the mass shootings taking over. But those jewelry heists that they were doing against those elderly Asian people out there as well. And those were Romanians doing that. Again, not Black people. See, they have to push a narrative. They need to push this narrative that Black people are so bad because that's what gets them views and gets them clicks. And if they monetize their content, that's what gets them paid and gets them money. They can't monetize when an Asian person is doing something against another Asian person. They can't monetize or make views and money when a white person is doing something against an Asian person, or when a Romanian person is doing something against an Asian person, because it doesn't garner views like that. So what do? They have to push out propaganda that a Black person is doing something against them so they can push a narrative and get what they want. After all, that's what they kind of did when you think about it, to get that anti-Asian hate crime bill. And from that moment forward, they have been trying to push propaganda with black people being at the forefront of the narrative of being the negative, bad, evil person against the meek and mild Asian individual. So what does that tell you? They have to use propaganda and push propaganda in order to get what they want. And this, what happened in California, is not helping because it wasn't any black person that they could blame. So what does this Asian crime report page do? Just find a way to throw black people into the equation when we have no place in the equation. And really not really give a damn about what happened with those shootings. Just chop it up as to them being anomalies. This is how you know even people in that community don't care about their own either. But they want to tell us, and yes, some of us try to tell us, that other communities don't do this to each other or other communities care about their own. Bullshit. Let me show y'all the tweet again. Nowhere in this tweet did this person say RIP to the victims. Nowhere in this tweet did they say, I offer my condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of the deceased. Nowhere did they say, I hope that the families get justice. Nope. All they could do was say black on Asian violence and racism is the biggest threat to Asian Americans, not mass shootings. The Asian male elder shooters are anomalies. And that this page focuses on black on Asian violence to help save more lives. That's all they said. Does that sound like a caring person? Does that sound like someone who cares about their community? No. This sounds like a person who cares about pushing lies. Now, I don't know who runs this page, but when I see stuff like this, I chop it up to misinformation. And yet again, Twitter, ran by Elon Musk, will not remove it. He will not take it down. Remember, I just did a whole live stream talking about Pedro Gonzalez and all that stuff that he put about Dr. King, a whole thread, and it's still up there. But I post a link. 12-hour ban. Why? Because of quote unquote hateful conduct. But everyone else can post whatever they want about us and they can just be fine. Their stuff is not under a microscope. Well, thanks to the due diligence of mainly black people on Twitter reporting this account, they ended up getting it locked because a lot of people went in and started to report that particular tweet. Let's read what it says. The report came on January 25th, 2023. It says, you submitted a report for hateful conduct. By the way, this is not my submission. This is somebody else's. That this tweet violated the Twitter rules, and they said violation found. We locked @active agents account for breaking our hateful conduct rule. We found they broke our hateful conduct rule through different reports we received about their behavior. They can't tweet, retweet, or like content, and we'll ask them to remove the reported content if they want to regain full access to their account. So this is like a temporary lock, much like how it was on to mine. Your safety is important to us. If they break our rules again, we'll respond with more severe action like a suspension. We appreciate you taking the time to submit a report and helping to keep Twitter safe for everyone. So the account can still very well be active, but they just can't use it as long as that tweet is up. And even after they take the tweet down, they won't be able to tweet for a certain period of time. Now, I don't know how long theirs will last because, you know, with mine, when I posted that link, mine was 12 hours. I've seen some people who have gotten up to a weeks long worth of a ban when it comes to this, but that's okay. Because granted, because they didn't suspend the account, this is almost like a warning that now their account is on our radar. For those who probably were never aware of their account before, their account is now on our radar, even though I was aware of their account before, which means they're going to have to tiptoe around some of the stuff that they say, especially when it comes to us, because then with them getting this, just know that we on their back, we on their ass, and this can happen again. And this time, if they do it and get enough submissions like this one, and it actually follows through, they might get taken off the platform for good. But shout out to the black people who went in, and I mean black people was going in to get this person's account either removed or at the very least that tweet. And as you can see, it worked. I have to insert this last little piece in here, and hopefully it's the last piece I have to insert. So this is a troll comment, I'm assuming, that came from a video that I did when I talked about the Romanians robbing the elderly Asian people out in California. when I was saying I don't see one black person in the lineup. And this was in response to one of my subscribers who wrote a comment saying, can't blame this one on the black community. And then I replied back with, but they will try. Then as Keith Williams came right behind it almost a whole day later and left this comment and said, no, they won't stop lying. Well, Keith Williams, since you want attention so bad, I hope you see this video and see that you've been highlighted in this at the very end of a video where you had a whole Asian crime report page that tried to shift blame towards black people when there was no blame to be shifted, and how Twitter ended up locking their account until they deleted the tweet. So now that that has occurred and you have seen yourself be put on the Summer Jam screen, you will now know that by the time this video is uploaded, if you even get wind of it, you have been blocked.